Oh, he was a trip.
Okay. Now streaming live. Okay.
I ain't like that picture.
Hmm?
I said there's one picture I ain't like.
You didn't. You don't. You look like me. You're enjoying yourself.
Mm-mm.
What is happening right now? Huh?
It's live.
I'm not seeing being live right now. Ken, is it
there
on
we go.
4Ever2Wheels? Is it live yet? Oh, there it is. No, it's not.
Yeah, it should. It'll take a second for it to come up.
Okay, let us know when it's up.
Yeah. There you go. I can hear it.
Oh, if you have it on, make sure you mute it, by the way, everybody.
Agreed.
I still don't see it on your page. Oh, here, it's other posts. It's below. It's not the top thing. Live with Flying Eagles live. Okay.
If you take it in your Facebook and start a watch party, it'll invite everyone that's part of your friends.
I just shared it to my my story.
Yeah, when you go to share, look for this says watch party.
I don't see watch party on mine. It says share now, public, share to your story, more options. That's not working out here. Ken, it's offering me to copy the link, but it's not offering to share to my page. Share now public, maybe that's it. Hold on. I guess that's it.
So now I can see where we are here. And I can see.
I got it on my page. Awesome. Offering me to copy the link, but it's not offering to share to my.
There it is. All right, so everyone that is live right now, if you're viewing, we've got a great.
Offering me to copy the link, but it's not offering to share to my.
So somebody's got their. There it is. Volume up. All right, on the Facebook link. It's live right now. If you're viewing, so we've got some feedback happening. So if you can make sure that you got the Facebook off, that'd be great. Let's see here. And so for everybody that's in, thanks for joining us. This is the 4Ever2Wheels podcast, episode 150. We're with the Flying Eagles Motorcycle Club, a founding member and a bunch of members of the Flying Eagles Motorcycle Club. And we're just going to show this slideshow for a few minutes. If you have a chance, if you can share this link on your Facebook page, that'd be great. If you can start a watch party, whatever it is that you can help us out and get the word out about this would be great. So we'll be back here in just a second and we'll go live and get some questions. If you've got questions, you can put them in the comments on the 4Ever2Wheels link. So if you go to 4Ever2Wheels on Facebook, if you're not seeing it there, and then if you can put the comments in there, that we have one place that we can kind of see the comments and ask questions from. So we really appreciate everyone joining us, and we'll be live with you here in just a few minutes.
I can't see me. I don't see me at all.
Everyone's sitting around like waiting.
Go that way or right way?
All right, I know we're waiting for Ken. Can you guys, everyone hear me? Can you guys hear me out there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. How about the folks on the Facebook Live? Can somebody hit us back and let us know if you can hear us okay?
Woody, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Corey, we got
Here,
you.
Corey.
All right, I see Monique Johnson waving. That would be the Junior Johnson's other wonderful daughter.
Where's she with?
She's right there waving.
Oh,
Can y'all hear us out there?
Yes.
Ken,
Not us online. I'm talking about people on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think we're good. Woody, we're good. I promise
Awesome.
you. I promise you we're good.
is
Yeah,
the audience not hearing us,
Yeah.
I hope?
No, they're saying yes. They're saying hello.
Oh,
That's all.
okay.
Just asking the audience. They're good. Yeah.
Got to watch what we say.
Hey, everybody can hear you. Hey, Ken,
Hmm?
It is hard, man.
oh, really?
Yes.
This is all new to me. You know, I ain't never did nothing like this before. Probably this is the last time I ever do something like this. I don't
Oh,
know.
you got about 20 more years. What are you talking
20
about?
here. You and Doing needs to get together and talk that shit over. He said, I'm gonna live 40 more years. What's the matter with that boy?
They all
So now we're doing we're going through the slideshow.
You know what? Somebody can narrate a little bit. If anybody's hearing us, why don't you tell us who's in the pictures?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Come on, guys. Chime in there.
Well, actually, Michael, I'm glad you said something. This is when you came and visit us and was taking pictures for the Hog magazine. And as a result of those, these are some of the pictures from that Hog magazine for those that, can you see that? The issue of Hog magazine? Let's do it that way.
Yeah, from our, that's right, from
Our
our,
visit.
from my trip in 2015.
That's exactly right. And these are a lot of pictures. It was a couple of days of riding. It was a lot of fun. This is out at the Norris house in their backyard. There's some, oh, wow. We passed a nice classic picture, but this is actually riding down to Sykesville, which is an old part of Maryland, where a lot of the Flying Eagles used to hang out, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Y'all used to hang out. Y'all used to rumble through there back in the day.
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
Ken, you want to get started?
Yeah, I'm trying to share this to one more page. So
Okay.
I'm just going to share to one more page and then we'll get started.
Hey, Ken, do you mind if I give a few folks, I'm going to give a few folks a shout out while you're doing that.
Go for it, man. Yeah, go for it.
So Don Gregory, which is actually Mr. Johnson's son, also joined us. And hey, Don, and we got Storm Perez. Hey, Storm, from up in Philly. Those cheesesteaks are pretty good. We have, who else? We got Vaughn Jones. All right.
Are they commenting on your Facebook page?
They're live. I have a live stream coming in one of my phones, so I'm seeing who's actually on the live stream at the watch party. So it's telling me all the folks that I sent the message out. And
Gotcha. Great.
right. So it's great.
For the audience, we're just waiting for Ken. He's going to share to one more location, one more service, and then we'll go live.
Okay.
Hey, Ken, while we're waiting, so some of these other pictures that we're talking about, there's Jack. Look at him. And there's Marlene.
Marlene.
That's right. There's Marlene. She's up on the screen. There's Big Rod. This is actually riding through Baltimore City. We went to a picnic later that day, too.
Make sure you're commenting about the main picture that we're seeing because there's a delay. So you may be commenting about a picture that they're seeing a few seconds later.
Oh, okay.
You want to comment about what's on screen live.
Yeah, that's what I'm commenting on.
You are? Okay, so you're seeing the picture, the old
Right, there's our, some
black and
classic
white?
uniform photos right there.
Yeah.
That's one of our member, Cliff. If you can notice the Historic Club membership patch on there, we are a historic AMA club. Been with AMA since 1960.
Ken, you ready?
Cool. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
we're 10 minutes late, but let's get started.
We're not late.
Okay.
We're perfect. I mean, 10 minutes late and motorcycle time, that's nothing.
Okay.
So, all right. So we're here live. This is episode 150 of the 4Ever2Wheels podcast. One of the things that we've tried to do over the years, and the impetus for this podcast, was to share motorcycle history, let people know maybe some of the stories that they don't know about motorcycles all over the nation, all over the world. So tonight we've got members of the Flying Eagle Motorcycle Club. And is it Flying Eagles or Flying Eagle?
Go.
Eagle.
Eagles
Eagle.
with an S.
Plural.
Okay.
Plural, yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
go. Mhm.
So I'm going to click on if you can introduce each person. So I'm going to go with Mr. Jack and
Ken, if I could have a moment-
John and Mr. Gemma. So
Ken,
if you guys could,
if I could
Yeah.
have a moment just to say how we met all these guys.
Okay.
what's up?
This whole thing goes back to 2015 when I got an assignment to shoot the Flying Eagles in Baltimore. And this was an assignment from Hog Magazine to go out there and photograph. I spent a weekend. My main contact was Woody, who's now the president. And he set me up just great. We had such a fun weekend. We went riding, we went to parties. They had a big, somebody was renewing their wedding vows on Sunday. They had a big party for the whole club and really had an awesome time. And you'll see in some of these photos from the slideshow, but that's how we first made this connection. And then Ken started this sort of Bikers and Racism. I don't know if that's a great name for this, but it is just looking at other sides to motorcycling that we have been missing. And so I had suggested that we contact the Flying Eagles again, and especially some of these older members, the octogenarians and how do you say that? Whatever, 90-year-olds. So we have 4 members that are between 87 and 92, I think totaling about 350 years of experience between 4 people. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity to hear some stories, and that's where Ken was heading. He was going to introduce in particular the 4 older members of the club, but as well the other members too. So I'll hand it back to Ken then.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to try if I can. All right, there we go. So on the screen left is Mr. John or Buster, right? Or Little Buster, right? You're kind of off screen. We can see about half of your face. Could you move in just a little bit? There we go. All right.
Ken, do I need to stop sharing the screen for the pictures? Because I'm still seeing the slide.
Yes.
No, you can if you want to. It doesn't matter either way. And then we got Mr. Gemma. You want to wave? All right. And then we're going to go, I'm just going by kind of who's on my screen.
They're not seeing it on Facebook.
I think they're still seeing the slideshow. So
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Slideshow and you can, that's all.
Okay. It's good to know.
I stopped the share here.
There you go.
It's you, Ken.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Now it's me.
So let's try that again. One more time. All right. So John,
Go up there.
right there. All right. Yep. On the left. And then Gemma, Mr. Gemma on the right.
Yeah.
And then we got Michael Lichter. And then we've got, let's see. That's Mr. Jack. Oh, no, Mr. Johnson. I'm sorry.
I don't
Mr.
know that the
Johnson?
viewers are seeing their pictures though.
What's that?
I think that everybody's seeing your picture, not their pictures.
Yeah.
Who's with the black hat?
Ken.
All right.
So let's try
Got to change the view somehow.
that should be Jack. He should be pinned now.
Yeah.
Mr. Jack, is that not true? Am I not getting this right? Can somebody confirm?
No, that's not. That's
That's
Mr. Junior now. Oh, now we see Corey.
Now we see Corey.
Yeah.
Now we got you, Ken.
Okay, it's still on,
Yeah.
it's
Here you
going
go.
by who's speaking. So Marlene's got it there.
Oh,
That's fine, Marlene.
all right.
Yeah.
You got your camera going.
All right, so I'm just gonna spotlight it. So now do you see Jack?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So that's Jack. Say hi, Jack.
Hi, how you doing?
And then let's see here, Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
There we go. All right. And then we got Corey,
Hey, how's everybody?
and then we got Woody somewhere. Where'd you go, Woody? There you are.
There we go.
There you go. So that's everyone, and Marlene is in there as well. So
Yeah.
we're just going to go through, and I think, you know, Woody, if you want to, I'm gonna ask like some questions. If you want to decide, or you know, kind of who should answer. And can you remind me who's the founding member here? Who's the one that's been around the longest?
Mr. Junior, huh?
Mr. Junior Johnson is the oldest member of the Flying Club, Flying Eagles, but not the oldest member here at the table. He's the youngest member at the table at 87.
And he's the
All
founding
right.
member though. So does Mr. Junior, does he remember when, how did the club get founded? Were you at the original meeting when you said, let's start a bike club?
No, we actually took off in the morning, 5 of us. And we was talking about starting a club, so we headed for Sykesville and up to Collins Farm. And we picked up with Collins and we talked it over with him. So he said it sounded like a good idea to him. So that's how we started. And we just started going from house to house, talking to the guys and seeing if they wanted to start a club. And everybody agreed. So it ended up it was 9 or 10 of us. Time we finished that day. Well, we had to do a little drinking. But anyway, time we finished, it was in the afternoon. And then we decided to get together later on. And Collins said that he was going to check around, and he found a charter of the Flying Eagles Club, which was back in the 50s. And he wrote and found out that we could take their charter over. So that's what we did. And that's how we started out.
So what year was this that you're talking that you went for this ride?
It was after the 50s. It wasn't in the 50s.
So this is like
It was in the 60s or
It
something,
was early 60s.
early 60s.
so there was a club with the same name that you took
Yeah.
that name in the 60s?
No,
No?
longer back than that. It was a Flying Eagles Motorcycle Club back in the 50s.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I-
for-
So
yeah,
is
for-
that,
for-
was that the club that originally got the AMA charter before you guys joined in?
yes, before we took and picked up the name and all.
So, and for reference, can you let people know where that was? Because I don't think everybody knows kind of where you
Well,
all
Sykesville.
originated from.
It was in Sykesville in Baltimore County. Started out in Baltimore County
In Maryland,
in Maryland.
In Maryland. Okay.
which is
Right.
right outside of, it's a suburb of Baltimore City. Let's say
Right.
it that way. Yeah.
And how much, what were you riding at the time and how much riding did you do back then, Mr. Johnson?
I just about lived on my motorcycle back then. We
How-
went every weekend. We went somewhere. We rode every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
How far would you go?
Well, sometime we'd go to Philadelphia and we'd go to Washington, D.C. And, but after we got the club started, we went to Canada and we rode up into Watkins Glen, New York to see the races. And we just go any place. And then me, Collins, and Jack Wright, we rode to Daytona one year.
What year was that when you went to Daytona?
Oh God, you probably got me there, but it was I guess that was in the 60s.
So what kind of bikes were you riding? Can you, not only the type or model, but what did they look like?
Well, I had a 56 then, which I had for 54 years. I just got rid of it some years ago.
56.
Panhead.
56 Harley, yeah. Panhead.
And was it all dressed up?
Oh yeah, Yeah.
I
And
mean,
what was
to
Mr.
me, the
Buster
word dresser comes from those years. So, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I didn't have all the lights that some of the guys had, but it was dressed up, yeah, with the saddlebags and all. It was a good bike. Ran very good.
did most of the guys have dressers?
Oh, yeah. We all had dressers, yeah.
And,
Nobody had no crotch bikes because that's why we went up into Watkins Glen, New York to see they had brought some of the Japs bikes over and we rode up there to see how fast they were. And that's when the guy lost one in the straightaway. And they said, there's about $10,000 or $15,000 sliding down the front of the bleachers.
So, again, what year was it that you went for this ride and kind of took the name of the club?
Oh, that was in the 60s,
So 1960.
1960, I think it was. Yeah.
1960. And so
Yeah.
what about the other three older members? When did they join in? Can you each address
Well,
that? Maybe?
We all joined we all started the club practically at the same time, really. We did.
So Mr. Johnson and Jack also same year?
Now, Jack, what year did you join the club?
68.
Jack joined in 68.
68.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and let me just add that with us also is the son of the founding member, two sons of the founding member, Mr. Buster and Corey, our current president of the club.
That's awesome. Now, so Mr. Buster, his father was a founding member. So was that on that original ride in 1960?
Yeah, well, we went to Buster's too. Because we all joined about the same time. We started the club.
See, I
We
joined
kept
right
picking
after.
up one after the other, and we started the club that way.
So if your father was riding and founding member, were you raised as a little kid riding on his bike, or what's
Yeah, I
your
started-
background?
Mike needs help, man.
I'm Jim. I started right
Mike
after.
needs help. How to get in. You have his number.
Hold on.
I'm Jim.
Who's
I
talking?
started right after my father did. I was joined the family right after my father, when I got out the army and was in 53. 53.
So what's your oldest memories getting on a motorcycle?
How old I was?
Yeah, do you remember it?
Yes, sir.
I can remember all the way back. Well, that's when I met Johnson. Them.
Look at Mom.
I was new. I never been involved in riding motorcycles till I run up with Johnson. And Johnson taught me all I knew but riding motorcycles. He thought I was younger than he was, so he taught me how to ride. He used to call me country boy and younger fella. I didn't tell him how old I was till about 5 or 6 years ago that he was younger than me, because he would never talk to me.
So if I'm not mistaken, are you 92 now?
Now I turned 91 Wednesday.
You're 91.
91. My dad taught me all I knew but riding motorcycles and Johnson. Because my dad was on me and Johnson. Johnson was the wildest thing ever rode a motorcycle in Baltimore City. My dad used to be on us all the time about Johnson. Dad carried Johnson up Frederick and brought him down the back road. Johnson didn't know where he was. When Johnson wound up down that crooked road, Johnson wound up we had in a man's cornfield. Daddy did get on him.
Tell me,
So-
was there any time that the four of you were on a ride together in the 60s? Can you recall any time that the four of you that are together tonight that you did a trip together?
Oh yeah, we used to ride together all the time.
Well, do you remember any fun trips you could tell us about?
Fun trips.
Yeah.
Hey, you click on the link?
All of them pretty much were real fun. We used to go around to churches and ride children, give them rides, and all that.
They had to click on.
So Jack, you remember any stories from back when y'all rode together? Where y'all would go?
Oh, yeah.
You want to share? Can you share one?
Send a note because they could chat with them and say, let Dwight in. That's all they have to do. Okay.
So-
All right. Okay. Bye.
Somebody else is talking, and we can kind of hear the background noise. So if you can either mute your microphone while that's going on, that'd be great. So Jack, why don't you talk about some of the stories that you remember from when you first started riding with the Flying Eagles, or maybe when you even first started riding.
I'm glad you asked me that. Those two Harris boys, if it wasn't for them, I probably would never learn how to ride a motorcycle. But the old man, they really learned me a lot.
Yeah.
And actually, I rode with them 3 or 4 years before I joined the club. You just didn't jump right in and join the club at that time. Somebody had to know something about you, riding a motorcycle. So I learned a lot from Buster, and also his father. He was my main partner, his father. And I look around that family, he had 2 boys, 1 daughter. That's all they did, is rode the motorcycle. The whole family. You love motorcycling, I tell you. And if you hung around them, you love it too.
And what was it? What was it about Harley-Davidsons? Was just because what was available at that point? Or did it matter?
What is it?
Why did y'all get Harley?
Because Harley was the motor to ride
Harley
back
was
in
the
them days.
motorcycle at that time, but
Yeah.
Jeff, tell them that you,
if you didn't ride a Harley, you didn't ride a motorcycle. That's what it is, okay?
Jack, tell them what your first motorcycle was. You had a jet bike. That little Honda.
Yeah, rode those too. But not my old one.
My understanding is that the club had some, I'm not sure, was it races or just big parties back in the 60s? For other clubs also, where other clubs were welcome. Is that right?
Yeah, we used to have a field meet every
Field
year.
day. Yeah, we used to have
yeah.
field day every year.
Yeah.
Field days, they were the days.
We used to have a field
Every
meet
day.
every year at the Collins Farm. We'd
Yep.
have a rally.
Were y'all working too hard to have fun, or could you have fun?
Oh, yeah.
No, we had fun.
Back races, and barrel races, and
Greasy plank.
hill climbing, drag racing. We had a little bit of everything. Barrel racing.
Yeah.
8 cars.
Best motorcycles.
The slow race.
Slow race.
Yeah, get 5 or 6 bikes across and see who could keep their Harley without putting their feet down until they got up to the end.
The last
Slow
one
race, they used to call it.
The last one across the line was the winner.
Now, this was
Right.
all starting in
Last
the
one.
early 60s. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
And-
what about, the whole motorcycle world in Baltimore? Was it very segregated at the time, or was it?
Oh, yes.
It was. So
Yes.
was your field meet mostly or all black clubs, or was it pretty mixed?
It was mixed. We had a lot of white riders used to come up that other guys knew, because some of the guys I knew used to come up there.
But not other clubs, or?
Well, we had a club to come up. The Hell Angels came up, and they sent word to us that they was going to ruin our field day. And they came up and they started to try to ruin it, but it didn't work out for them.
Well, that's a good thing that it didn't work out.
No, the pagans. It was the pagans. I'm sorry. If any of the Hell Angels hear me, I'm sorry. But no, it was the pagans that sent word and said that they heard that the Flying Eagles up Sykesville was having this field day every year, and they was going to come up and ruin it.
So,
when
and
we
just
came
to
up,
be,
we
just
put
to
them all
be,
down in the end.
so just to be clear, you guys are not a 1% club. You're not a 3-patch club. You're an AMA riding club. That's what
That's
you
it.
guys do. You guys ride
That's what we did.
motorcycles, right?
That's what we did.
Yes.
I think it's
And
important
what-
that people understand that.
Yes, that's what we did.
And wasn't that field event a AMA sanctioned event?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
all of it was. Yeah, definitely.
There was only 1-2 charter clubs in Baltimore. That was the Baltimore Ramblers.
Baltimore Ramblers.
That's
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, Baltimore Ramblers still going.
Yeah.
The other AMA clubs participated.
Well, we didn't ride with the Baltimore Ramblers or anything, and we didn't have no too much contact with them, but they was a club that was awful large in Baltimore.
Were any of
Were
the
there any-
clubs,
Were there any other AMA clubs?
I don't remember nothing. No.
Okay.
now, were any of the clubs at that time, were any clubs integrated or not really?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
I mean, I rode with some guys because even right up here where I live at, it was two guys I rode motorcycles with quite a bit, and go to bars and all, and I was treated okay. But it wasn't the word that you could just take in because I know when I was coming along, we hit the back of the bar and the other people hit the front.
And that was real clear?
That was very clear.
Yeah. So was the racism that you experienced, would you say that was equal in the popular culture, in the broader world? And was it the same in the bike world or was it different? In other words, amongst bikers?
It was a little bit different because bikers can get along, and mostly bikers, because I mean, even, if they see you broke down on the road, a biker here stop to see if he can help you, regardless of who you are, what you are. And I think that's always been that way, but you had like the Hell Angels and you had some of them clubs that they just didn't like nobody.
Right.
Johnson, don't forget telling about the Vista racetrack was black.
Oh man, I don't want to talk about no Vista. That it was all right down the Vista though. That's where me and California got hooked up.
What's that all
Huh?
about?
What's that about?
Well, Vista was a flat track, a round oval track, and it was a dirt track, and we used to go down there every week to go to Vista to see them race and all. But guys used to tear their bikes up down there, and but everybody had a good time. I never remember going down there and finding any trouble or anybody not getting along though, the whole time that we went to Vista.
Wasn't that unique to hear though? I mean, when you went down south and you started riding down to Daytona,
Yeah.
what are some of the things you encountered on your way down south?
Well, in South Carolina, me and Jack and Collins, we got thirsty, so we figured we would pull in and get something to drink. And we started up into a lot. And it was a guy pulled his window back and he said, "I don't know where you fellas come from, and I don't know where you're going, but you're not coming in here." So we didn't go in there because we didn't want no trouble. But that's the way it was.
Was that something that happened a number of times or is that a fairly unique experience?
Well, that was the only one time that I rode to Daytona, and that happened then. But we didn't have the new highways then. We had to ride the old roads.
Sure, the 2 lanes through the towns.
Yeah. We didn't have the open highways then, so we had to ride them old rough roads and wherever you could find your way if you knew where you was going. But Jack Wright knew where he was going because his mama lived in South Carolina.
Right. So let's see here. Mr. Gemma, what was the first Harley you ever owned?
It was 38 harley-davidson motorcycle.
All right. How long did you have that for before you
When I went in,
Knucklehead or a flathead?
well, when I went, my father had kids. My father rode motorcycle when we were real young. If he had all his kids, he could never afford him a motorcycle. So my brother bought an Indian motorcycle, and Dad taught us how to ride that. Got it together, and we used to ride back and forth down through the woods. So when I went in the Army, I had a car. When I come back, I found out I was going to Germany. I sold the car and I saw a motorcycle before I left the States. I got the money for the motorcycle and I give it for my car and I give it to Daddy to go buy that motorcycle. While I was in Germany, Daddy kept sending me pictures of the motorcycle. So when they found out it was time for me to come home, Daddy bought him a motorcycle. He had that one there waiting for me. So
All right.
that we rode that we rode that motorcycle. Daddy taught me a whole lot then, but how to ride motorcycles. And that's when Dad started going. Dad was a country boy. Dad didn't know nothing but Johnson. He was in Baltimore riding, and they called him country. Dad was in on that motorcycle. They called him country. So Dad got up that he bought one of them high-powered Harley-Davidson. He was ready then. And Johnson come out there, he would come out there every Sunday out to the house. They would ride around with him, all of that. So Dad didn't know how wild he was. And one day Dad was in town, and one of the riders come out there, and him and I took Dad's motorcycle, and we were flying down the road, and I was on the back. He was up front. And Dad said, there goes two fine looking motorcycle riders. And my mother told him, say, you're a fool. Say, that's your son on the back. And took the motorcycle away from him. And when Dad got in town, I met up with Johnson, and Dad told me to stay away from him. I get in town and ride around with him. So Johnson was teaching me everything, how to run around police and up, down through the track. I was good now. And so I went back in there looking for Johnson now. I couldn't find him. So I met a bunch of them other wild guys was in there. I was riding with them. So I kept up with them. They carried me out in a little town called Cherry Hill. Every time they'd get a break, but they told me never ride up front any of the guys staying behind them. And the guy said, well, old country riding that motorcycle, said, let's take him out in Drew Hill Park.
Uh-oh.
And that's where John had taught me how to ride out in Drew Hill Park. I got out there and the guys took off. We went down through the park, up and down the hill, and the guys dropped down the bottom. I laid mine down in one of them turns and far, and everything flew up on it, lifted the park up down there. And I went on up the hill and was sitting up on top of the hill waiting for them to come up there. They didn't come up, so I drifted back down there. They all had the lights shining out in the bushes looking for me. So one of the guys, I pulled up behind and drifted up behind. I said, what's happening? Boy, looked down there and saw it with me. They thought they saw a ghost. So they asked me, where was I from? I asked them, did they know Jack Wright and Johnson? Them. They said, come on, let's get out the park. That guy, he gonna get all of us killed.
So Mr. Johnson, it seems like you had quite the reputation.
Yeah, back then.
Johnson was like Eva Knievel.
Really? Well, tell us about that. What was that like?
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnson would turn that thing on there, and he'd get off the clover leaf anywhere, or make a turn. All you see was sparks.
Coming from the floorboard.
So what's your riding like today, Mr. Johnson? Are you still a wild man out there?
No, not like that anymore. But my son put me on a three-wheeler a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But you know, he still got my old bike though, my 56.
Okay.
He still got it, and I was riding a three-wheeler, so I was riding that for a couple of years. This year I didn't ride at all.
And Mr. Johnson, tell us about that one time when you was talking about Rosita, his wife, was on the back, and y'all had to go down near them pigs or something like that.
Oh,
What
yeah.
happened?
We was left Baltimore, the club did, and we was going to Levelator down at the tobacco barn.
Oh.
And we used to go down to the Elks and ride in the parade every year for them. And I had my wife on, and one of the other members, Billy Breckenridge, I passed him in a turn, and he said that my footboard cut his girlfriend's boot and cut her foot. So I had a slick tar on the back, and when I went into this turn, it started to slide, and so I just turned the wheel and let it slide, but I lost it when I come out of the turn, and I went, and it was a guy had a pig yard down over a bank, and we went down over this bank, and I hit all that pig stuff down the bottom there.
Oh,
And my wife used to shine our boots every week. So I hollered, and I don't know what name I hollered, and I come up the bank, and I hollered yippee, and I was back down gearing again and running. She was beating me in my back. But the maddest thing that she got mad over was I got all that pig dookie all over our boots. And she definitely didn't like it. She didn't like it. So I was in trouble for a while.
you guys look pretty good. I wonder, Ken, can I share that screen with a few photos to ask about?
Yeah, you bet. Hold on. Yeah, you should be good to go. And Corey, we're going to get to you. I want to hear about what the club's like today.
Oh, while we're doing
We'll
that, let me
get
ask
to
a
you.
question.
Don't you worry about it.
Okay, I have a great question. You know, you guys talked about riding them.
There you
Who did a
go.
lot of the work on y'all bikes for y'all when they broke down? Because I know they broke.
What?
Who
Our
was-
bikes?
Yeah, who was in the club that really was good about?
Well, Bobby Speed, after he
Yeah.
worked at Crest Harley-Davidson, Bobby started working on our bikes because the last motor job he did for me and rebuilt gears in my transmission, guys used to go in there and try to look at what he was putting in my bike, and he would throw a blanket over it.
It was all top secret.
Yeah, so my son Gary, he said, yeah, he's got pistons as big as a gallon bucket in that thing now. So,
Awesome.
but Bobby was a good motorcycle mechanic. He really was. He was a good motorcycle mechanic.
What's going on in this picture here? Who do we have in this?
That's my first electric starter Harley-Davidson.
So that's you,
That's
Yeah.
Gemma.
That's
Mr.
me.
Gemma. All right.
That's me. And see me out there on that small picture, that's what you call sand dancing. That
You know,
motorcycle-
what's
that
pretty
motorcycle-
funny, you get all these younger people now and they're trying to dress exactly, they're looking at these pictures for inspiration, aren't they, Ken?
Yeah, I think a lot of
hipsters, like-
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that out there for sure.
You see that small pit? You see that small picture there? The
Yep.
speed bump there in that motorcycle is turning 50 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet.
That's what
And
they
that
call-
was your original driver's license too, right?
Yes, I still got them in my pocket now.
That's Bobby Speed.
That's Bobby Speed. That's a 52.
That was your original driver's license.
That sure
So-
is looking good, isn't it?
Somebody's got their Facebook on, just to let you know.
Now, what's the story here with this? I mean, you guys are
This looks awful official.
pretty dressed up there. So what's with the uniform?
That's
That's
great.
our uniform from way back when we started.
Yes.
Well, I tell you who they are. Starting from the right,
That's Buster.
that's my father.
Buster.
That's my father, Mr. Buster. That's Mr. Jim Harris. That's John Harris, my brother, and that's a good friend of ours right there.
Wow, that's a great picture. Now, how often would you dress up like this? Was this for official functions or would you go out riding like this?
We would go to parades and motorcycle dancing clubs. We'd go there best dressed and all of that.
Wow. Have any of you kept the uniform?
My brother still got his.
That's something else, huh?
That's cool.
Mr. Jack still has his uniform.
This
Yeah.
picture right now is all the young members in there. That's all the young ones.
Any of those still in the club?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
You too.
just us two, my brother and I,
All right.
that are shown on that picture.
Mhm.
Well, here we are in Sykesville. I know that we went out there, we rode out to that place.
Well,
for
they
this sign.
they used furniture. Every time we'd have a big field meet up there, they would furnish the ambulance for the club if anybody got hurt or anything like that. They carry them back to the hospital or
It
anything.
didn't stand up for me.
But nobody got hurt. We used to make a donation to the fire department in Sykesville. We still make a donation there for them.
I've got a question about those bikes right there. Can you go back, Michael? Is that possible? So that is a lot of lights on those bikes. Does anybody know the history of that or why that became popular, how it became popular?
Well, these two with the lights on them, all of that. We got one fella in our club at a harley-davidson has 600 and some lights on.
Wow.
I had the picture, but I don't have it with me. I got a picture of it. And this one, there's one of them sitting right here to your right there.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't have that many, but
Yeah.
the one
Yeah, but
with
you got the other one too, didn't you?
600 and some lights on.
Wow.
Something.
Isn't there's a name for that kind of bike too, right?
Harley-Davidson, best dressed.
Best dressed. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I think over the last 10, 15 years, they've come to be called baggers more than anything. But I know in most of my years of riding, we always called them dressers. And you see when you talk like that and say they're best dressed and 600 lights, you really understand it. Who's this couple?
And,
That's-
and all of those lights on that motorcycle were light.
Wow.
He'd light them up. He said, give him 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's Bobby and Dolores.
Who's that?
Bobby and Dolores Speed.
Okay. Bobby Speed.
She was
Okay.
a cycle queen out of Washington, D.C. She the only woman club around back then.
Cool.
All right.
See, there's the
I
motorcycle.
apologize that my name's on this.
Sitting there now, we're in the middle. That's the one got them 600 lights on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
And the one next to him is his cousin. He ain't got that many.
mhm.
1959 on there.
Does anybody know who that is?
Bobby Speed.
Oh, okay. Wow. He likes to get his picture taken a lot, huh?
Well, back in that day, he was a nice looking guy and the women liked him.
And he had the name like a rock star, Bobby Speed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
we got in
club's got
trouble.
one.
We got in trouble with that a lot when the cops would catch us. Said this guy's name is Speed. And
His
we-
actual name was Speed?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Every time the police stopped us, they said, look at this guy's name, Bobby Speed.
Wow.
Ah,
So when did, how long ago was it that you guys gave up riding, some of you?
I gave up in 70s.
February?
70.
In the 70s.
In the 70s, gotcha. Is it still part of your life? I mean, do you go to the club meetings?
Yeah, I stayed in the meeting for a while.
Yeah, they're very active members. We have honorary members and lifetime members, depending on how you work with the club. And all four of these gentlemen here are still active members in the club. So when we have events, they still come to the events, and they run security for us.
There you go.
It's,
Jack, do you still ride or when did you stop riding?
2 years ago. I stopped
2 years
riding.
ago.
2 years ago.
And what was the last ride you took? What was it on?
It's Harley that's in his garage.
That's when you went on with the club. What was the last ride you took?
Oh,
Was that on the bike blessing?
it could have been.
Yeah.
Bike, but yeah.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
bike's full of cobwebs.
One of the two.
No, we were over at his house Thursday. He's got the bike all cleaned up, getting ready to ride.
Last time I saw it was full of cobwebs.
Yeah, I got a question for Corey and Woody, really. Just kind of curious here that this club has seen a lot of change. You come from 1960 approximately. We're looking at 60 years, right? And you've got these old members that are a wealth of information and history. Do you ever talk about the changes of just in general and also with regard to the experiences of it being a Black club and racism in the wider community? I mean, you guys have seen a lot. I mean, in Baltimore with what you had going on about 6-7 years ago, and again today, of course, lots going on. And we would have hoped a lot of this would have been addressed in the 60s, and it's obviously not finished. Any thoughts about that?
You go first, Corey. I jump in there.
Well, when you get out there on two wheels, like Mr. Johnson was saying, we try to let the politics go by. And there's a brotherhood of two-wheel guys out there, and most of us just want to ride and have a good time. And we've been all over, up north, out west, down south, and most of the time it's just, we're all a brotherhood. We want to ride. Once in a while you have an issue, but most of the time just want to get out there and have a good time.
And that commonality of being on two wheels is kind of what brings everyone together. And they're like, hey,
Yeah.
you got a cool bike. I don't care who you are, you know,
Right.
that sort of thing.
You know, yeah, that's correct. As a club, I mean, we've been to Laconia. We've been to Sturgis about 4 times as a club. We go to Daytona. We ride a lot, and but we ride as a club. And there are other clubs that join us, and we've very seldom encountered any major issues. I mean, there's one time when they gave my name is Scout. They send me in first to figure out what's going on. I just got that personality. I just walk in and figure it out. And so we went to a bar and we were having a good time. And then a 1% club came in, confronted us and said, hey, you know, what's going on? What are you guys doing here? We're like, hey, you know, we're just having some beers and having a good time. And, you know, that this banter went back and forth. And then finally the guy looked at us and he said, okay, well, y'all have a good time. He left, but when he left, probably like 20 people in the bar, 21% all stood up and walked out with him. And we sat there like, this was very interesting. But the reality is that you know, we, like Corey says, we ride to have fun. We're not the 1%ers. We're a family club. We have ladies and women riders. I mean, ladies and men riders, family, 3rd generations. Corey Norris is the grandson of one of the founding members and is currently our president, by the way, Michael. We just had an election. And we brought the old school, young school back to the presidency. And so, and it's, you know, it's a good thing. That's what riding really is supposed to be about. You know, we've got bikes to ride and have fun. Yeah, it's a little dangerous, and we don't ride like Mr. Johnson do anymore. But we do get out there and we enjoy ourselves. And you know, we have our spouses or significant others with us. And, you know, it's really about the brotherhood, the sisterhood. You know, I say that one of the fastest growing riding population is women riders. And, you know, we have Marlene as a 3rd generation rider in our club, and we've had others. Corey's sister was a member of our club, and she was, you know, she rode with the club. And so, I mean,
Is Marlene the only woman right now?
Yes,
And former president.
yes.
and president, yes.
Hey, why
Marlene,
can't we see
show
you,
your
Marlene?
face, Marlene.
Yeah, get in there.
Next to your
Get in
dad there.
there.
Come on.
Come on.
All right.
So, and do you think you'll have some more women in the club? I know when I was out there, I think you had 2 5 years ago.
Just 2. And right now, still one, the first female president. And when I first joined the club, I was known as Miss Buster.
Little Buster, Big Buster, and Miss Buster.
Miss Buster.
That's great.
Yeah.
What are the older guys in the club? What do you think about Marlene and women being in the club? Was that a big adjustment? Because I imagine in the 60s that wasn't going to happen.
Well, I tell you like this, during that time,
Women riding back in the 60s.
Go ahead.
I tell you, but back in that time, the young women were scared to ride out on this part, was scared to try that. But they had some in Washington and Virginia that rode. Yeah. but the ones around here was scared of it. Right. Now, when I got my motorcycle riding, jumping them, let me how to run away from police and all of that kind of well, getting back
I knew he was gonna bring that up.
getting back on, tell you what happened to me. I went in town looking for them. I couldn't find none of them. So I was coming back home, riding the speed limit, and the guy drunk run the stop sign. And I was trying, they showed me how to duck around cars and all that. Well, I had tried that. When the guy looked up, he had my wheel skipping, he put on brakes. He had a Ford. I run right into the side of him, threw me off the motorcycle, through the back window, the back seat of his car.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
And I got out the car, and the guy was drunk driving the car, and right there in Baltimore. And I felt like walking around out in the street, things didn't feel right. I always wore cowboy boots. That's what Johnson told me to ride in. And I felt my feet didn't feel right walking around. I looked down at my feet. I didn't have no boots on.
Oh my goodness.
It hurt. My boots come off. I walk around on the other side of the car. That was my motorcycle laying there in the street, my boots.
Wow. Did you end up in the hospital?
No, it didn't hurt me.
Wow.
When we walked around, this guy ran that cussing, raising, saying, but was a brother-in-law's car. He had dent the door all up on the car. And I reached in my pocket, I got 10 cents out and told the little boy, go over and call the police. So while I was in the army, the guy that taught me how to hit a guy and knock him out. So I waited till the police come there, and I nailed him. They had put the cold towel on and get him together. The guy jumped up and said, well, I don't have to fix his motorcycle. I won't have to fix his motorcycle because he hit me. And that's when I found out if you do that, the insurance company don't have to fix your vehicle up. So I told the police that was okay, but they had to write him a ticket up for being drunk. So he dropped that. While they were working on my motorcycle, I ordered me a Sportster.
And ordered a Sportster.
I said, when I get that back, I'm gonna get that Sportster. So when my dad go down to Harley-Davidson place, he told the guy down there that his son had been in order of a brand new Sportster. That Sunday morning, Daddy woke me up and said, you ain't gonna live long. I said, why? He said that, Dad. He said, I was just down talking to Steve. Steve told me you to order the Sportster. Dad said, you ain't gonna be around here long, because that thing gonna kill you. I said, Dad, what you doing? You going out there food with George, you gonna turn that thing on, and it's gonna kill you. I went back there.
Thought you were getting on a race bike.
You know, on that question about women riders, our club has always had women that rode with the club from even the beginning. Bobby Speed's wife, who was with the a women's club.
Yeah,
she
Cycle
rode,
Queen.
Cycle Queen. She rode with the club. And were there, Mr. Johnson's wife, Rosita. There's a picture of a woman on a Honda, an old Honda, and that's Rosita, his wife. So
and my grandmother was a rider.
Right. And
yeah, my grandmother was a rider, and she used to tell the story. She'd be riding down the road, and she stopped riding because she would be riding, and the cars would be looking at her, running her off the road. So she got scared. And that's what made her stop riding, because people was paying her so much attention.
Oh. What was she? Do you remember what she rode?
I don't. It was a red bike, like a Triumph. I remember it being in the garage and climbing all over the motorcycles in the garage. It was a red bike with a white seat, but it had to be a Triumph or something like that, from what I remember.
So at 3 and 4 years old, your earliest memories were filled with motorcycles, huh?
Yeah, garage full of motorcycles. Used to go out there, and the big old dog used to scare me. And my grandfather had to protect the bikes, but I would go ahead out there anyway, climb all over them and turn the throttle, and that's how it all started.
Cool.
Is that when you started riding?
I got my first bike at 5, before that, my sister had an old BS, a Benelli,
Okay.
And she used to ride me on the back and pop wheelies and throw me off. And that was the first ride. And then I got my own bike after that.
Yeah.
And do you guys have any requirement about it being an American motorcycle that you're riding in your club? Does it have to be a Harley? No, you can ride whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you're on 2 wheels, or maybe
Yeah.
even 3.
Yeah. Nowadays.
Yeah. Cool. I have another question for you, Corey. What do you think the trajectory of your club is now? With kind of everything that's going on, it's hard for people to get together as much, and there's just not as many events. I'm assuming you guys probably didn't do as many events this summer as you have.
Yeah.
What's it looking like? What's the future looking like? I think, do you guys ride during the winter too?
Some of us ride all year long. I try to ride every day I can. We're still going to be having our normal meetings, and we have had some Facebook meetings in the past recently. But we're now that the COVID thing is hopefully going to let up a little bit. We're going to try to bother Mr. Jack and be down in his garage and light the old wood stove and still have our meetings at least once a month for now.
Cool. And then how many of your members do you think you would say ride during the winter, and what's that like riding in the winter in Baltimore?
I'd say three or 4 of us ride all year. Woody's one of it. Woody and I rode out in February a couple of years ago to the Timonium bike show, and it was snowing at the light when we stopped. And it's uncomfortable, but if you love to ride like we do, you can go ahead and deal with it.
Sure. All right.
It can be brutal.
There are a couple of comments I want to mention. Chris Summers Simmons, I don't know if you know her, but she wrote the book on women in motorcycling, sort of the history. And she said, you guys are awesome. And she also mentioned she'd love to ride with you. Todd Evans said, time for a ride, Mr. Johnson. And Gavin Fox is watching. She's also enjoying the show. And then we have Argon from Guadalajara, Mexico, who's saying congratulations. Right. Aaron Sawyer is saying living legends. Much respect from TNBC MC. Thanks you for paving the way for so many.
Great.
Thank you. Great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll just keep coming in too. So, Jack, so is that you? It sounds like your garage is where you guys are meeting these days. Is that correct? Are you the Jack?
That's true. Yeah.
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 Light up the wood stove.
Got a wood stove in it. Corey, get your wood together.
Yeah.
We can have some fun.
Yeah.
Got a cold refrigerator and a hot wood stove.
And the refrigerator and that's right. Yeah.
So it's just an excuse to get together and drink together once a week.
We take care of club business too first.
Well, heck, in the meeting we have a couple of motorcycles we sit around too.
Yeah.
You used to have what, 2 or 3 of them in there, or did you
got rid of most of
got most of it? Most of it? Yeah.
Since Jack cleaned his up, you can see that. Since Jack cleaned all the cobwebs off, you can see that.
Hey Jack, we'll come ride your bike for you. Get the cobwebs off.
Well, I don't have any problem with that. Yeah, I got a couple of nephews around here. They'll work on it, clean it up, and wait for me to say, go ahead and ride it, boy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what they're waiting on.
So,
one other thing, when I talk about multiple generations, Mr. Johnson's daughter also is a rider as well. So we have Marlene. We have 3 daughters of members that are riders today in the club. And I think that's just, in today's age, I find it to be pretty amazing, to be quite honest.
For sure. So.
And Michael, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Marlene.
To go back to the female riders, I would always go with Jack and my dad to the National Bikers Roundup. This is before I got my license or knew how to ride a motorcycle. I was always around motorcycles and rode with my dad, my grandfather, my uncle was always on the back. And I went to the roundup so much with Jack, they thought I was Jack's daughter, and and everybody calls Jack Uncle Jack. So, you know, they thought I was Jack's niece. And in that environment, there weren't many women riders. And I think we were in Louisville, Kentucky, and one of the guys got sick on the motorcycle, and he had a female passenger, and she was stranded, and she didn't know how to ride the bike. And so from that point on, I said to my dad, he was there, I said, Dad, when I get home, I'm gonna get my license. And he said, well, if you do, I'll help you get your first motorcycle. And he stuck to his word, and he helped me to get an 883, and I've been riding ever since.
Wow.
All
Tell
right.
me this, when did you first go to the roundup?
Oh, I would go to all of them.
But I'm kind of curious when it started. I don't even know how far back the
The
roundup
National
goes.
Bikers Roundup. I don't even remember, because before I would go to the roundups, I would be on the farm, Corey's grandfather's farm. But I was a little girl then, and they would have the hill climb for the kids. We would always run up there, and coming down, it was a stream down behind there, and I was running, and I couldn't stop, and I was in the cow manure, and my dad had to take my handkerchief and wipe me off, but I was okay, I was fine. So we could always get there just to run and play and have a good time.
Awesome. You know, a question came from Chris Simmons. She asked if any of you had ever met Bessie Stringfield, but now I think she's kind of a different generation. Bessie Stringfield was born in 1911, so she was a motorcycle rider, maybe a generation
Extraordinaire.
Did any of you ever met her or heard of her, Bessie
Yeah,
Stringfield?
well, I've heard of her, and they have female rides here. They've had them for the last, I think, 3 years. They didn't have one recently. And all the women get together and they do a Bessie Springfield ride.
Okay, because she did 8 solo trips across the U.S. in the 30s and 40s, and even rode Haiti, Europe, and South America, which is really something. You imagine a black woman rider back then doing all this, huh?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Hey, Michael, the question about the National Bikers Roundup, which is a roundup for mostly people of color. It was founded in 1977, and it's held annually. I think the first inauguration was in Kansas City, and it rotates through different states. So a state can come and petition to be the state to host the National Roundup.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd still love to go, but it's always the week of Sturgis. Typically, it has been.
That's how it is.
I sure wish it was a different week.
And I think it started because Sturgis was just not a place where people of color could ride to at one point. You know, it's a lot different now. So, you know, those of color said, let's create our own roundup. So in the 70s, we did.
Yeah.
Great stories. Ken, where do you want to go?
I want to go to Jack. I want to ask him a couple more questions. You ready, Jack?
All right. I'm with it.
How many miles do you think that when you were riding a lot, how many miles a year do you think you would ride?
Well, I took off 1993. I went out to California. Left out of California and went up into the Sturgis. When I got back home, I had close to 9,000 miles on it.
There you go.
I did. Well, it was very enjoyable. I tell you, I met some beautiful people, and I saw some scenery I never thought I'd see in my life. And I tell my grandson about it often. Hey, man, get on that motorcycle and ride around.
Yeah.
Get the countryside out. You know what I mean? But he don't want to listen, so.
Well, it's different on a motorcycle too, right? It's not the same as driving through that in a car. It's what I always think of when I'm in a car. I'm always like, oh, I wish I was on a motorcycle right now. It would be so much better.
I can get up on a Friday morning and ride up to Columbus, Ohio, or Cleveland, You normally have a lot of fairs, motorcycle affairs up in that neighborhood. And on a Sunday afternoon, Mr. Buster, which is the Buster boys, they're the Harris boys. He said, all right, it's about dust off. He said, we in Cleveland. All right, let's get ready to go home now. I said, wait a minute, man, we're going home in the morning. And we were like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get back home. I would always call his wife up. I said, Miss Jessica, I said, how's the old man doing? She said, Jackie, by God, so that man is going to work. And he'll just get out of bed 2 o'clock in the evening. He's working hard as nails. But them boys not as hard as his father. Oh, Lord. Gemma, you heard that, don't you?
How about some of the younger guys? How many miles are you putting in a year, Corey? What do you think?
On a good year, 10 or 12. This year I'm down probably 4,000. But you know, always the more the better. Hopefully we got big plans for next year. Flying Eagle's gonna be on the road.
Nice.
When are you going back to Sturgis?
It'll probably be a couple of years. We know Roundup's gonna be in Atlanta next year, so we're gonna get together and go there as a club, and we'll get a club ride to Sturgis. I got a secret for the club that I'll let them in on. Big ride is going to be Arizona in the next 5 years. That's going to be something we'll talk about soon.
Okay.
Well, that's close enough to Michael and I that we can make it down to that for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bucket list ride. So I gotta get the.
Well, if you're in Arizona, you got to do Utah too. I'm telling you, there's nothing like riding through Utah.
I did Denver a few years ago. Did Pikes Peak and came through Denver and Air Force Academy. Beautiful, beautiful ride.
Yep.
A lot of
And
beautiful
I've
country.
already done the Grand Canyon, the Four Corners, and Hoover Dam. I've done those.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a long way from home, Marlene.
Yep. I've done it.
Yeah,
Were you on your own for those?
Huh?
Did you go on your own or are you with a group?
No, one other person.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
great.
yeah, Marlene would suddenly, we'd see her send a picture and say, hey, everybody. And we look and say, where is she? She says, oh, yeah, I'm in wherever, Colorado or some crazy place. Get on the bike and ride.
That's awesome.
She got it on us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a 2011 Ultra Classic, and I have 58,000 miles on it. So
You bought it new?
I haven't been riding that much lately in the last 3 years. So most of that was my first 6 years on the bike.
Mr. Johnson, talk about your I'm imagining that you probably put a lot of miles on bikes.
I think I did, but I never kept up to them.
I never paid attention to it.
I never paid no attention. I just rode.
Yep.
I don't know how many miles.
As much as you could all the time, year round. What did it look like?
Well, I spent some years. I was hard on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of years. I run the police, and that was hard on a bike. And every 3 months or so, I'd have to put new footboards on.
Just from dragging them, huh?
Like that. No, well, we rode to Canada one year, and they told me, said, Johnson, this is nothing but turns down through here. So I said, I gotta get me a drink. Where's the bar? So a guy stopped and I asked him, I said, where's the nearest bar? He said, it's 11 miles down the road. Said, but this road is nothing but turns. So Bernard and Charles Robinson said, Johnson, you go off one of these mountains, said, you're done for. So I said, well, I'm gonna find me a drink. So I took off, and they said that all they seen was sparks to the left and to the right, all the way down through there. They got down, I was sitting at the bar, and they wouldn't sell me a fifth of liquor off of the shelf. They always sell as shots. So I bought 27 shots.
Oh,
They poured it in the bottle.
You don't remember how many miles, but you remember the shots.
Well, no, well, I could hold my liquor back then. Yeah, I could hold my liquor back in them days. Maybe that's
cool.
maybe. Well, yeah, but I had my fun, and fun pretty near had me a couple times too. That's why I lost my kidney up there on that hill climb up Sykesville there.
Oh yeah, tell them that story about
Oh
that.
yeah, I want to hear that story.
Well, I was up there and I was hill climbing in the morning, and Collins back then, now president, he had a BSA, and he said, Johnson, don't be using your bike to go up and down that hill. He said, you're gonna tear it up. Said, take that BSA. It's just sitting over the farm and ride that thing up and down the hill. So I said, okay, because I said, I'll try it. So I started riding that BSA up and down that hill. And Charles Robinson and Bernard, they had bought a gallon of dandelion wine up there. So every time I went to run, I'd come back down and get some ice from the ladies that in the food place, and I would drink another glass of dandelion wine. So after about the 5th time I went up over the hill, it just came up on the back wheel and the handlebar come over and went through my kidney.
Oh, God.
So they all run up there. I said, Johnson's down, and they come up there. So they said, you all right? I said, I'm feeling a little rough. So I had rode a motorcycle up there, me and Rose had, and they said, well, Johnson, you want the ambulance? No, I'm all right. So I said, well, you got to ride me home. She said, what?
His wife, Rose.
Yeah. I said,
Oh, and how tall is she? 5 foot?
5'2". Yeah. I said, you got to ride me home. She said, William, I cannot ride you in that motorcycle back to Baltimore, because I was staying at her mother's then. So I said, look, I'll put my feet down at each red light you come to. I'll put my feet down and hold the bike up. Just shift it and ride it. And she did. She rode me from Sykesville all the way to Elsnore Avenue, down below Mondawmin. And the only time we fell over was after we got up in the driveway. I lost my footage and we fell over in the driveway. And her father, somebody come and picked it up, took it down in the garage. And that's when I lost my kidney. The doctor, I stayed home that next day and didn't go to work, but I was bleeding a lot.
Bleeding dandelion wine or?
No, I was bleeding inside. And so my cousin's husband came down, took one look at me, and he said, you got to get him to the hospital right away. So they took me into the hospital, and they said I was bleeding inside. And they tried to get an x-ray, and they said, you got so much blood in you, you can't. And fortunately, my doctor's name was Dr. Chance. And he said, I'm Dr. Chance. He said, usually I ask the patient, said, can you take a chance and see if you can last until the morning? I said, yeah, doc, I'll take the chance. And they stuck a big needle in my side and was draining the blood out of my kidney down in something. I don't know what that was. And until the next morning. And then that's when they seen enough to where they could work on me. But that kidney lasted me for the 18 years after that. And finally, kidney stones got in. I had to have it taken out. So I'm a 1 kidney biker now. And
boy, if I could get in some sort of a time machine, I would love to go back to one of your field meets and watch these runs up the mountain and all in the 60s. That sounds like something else.
Actually, I'm sorry. We just found a magazine called the Long Riders, this magazine actually has an article from the field meet, and this is it, Long Riders.
Oh wow!
Yes, and it actually has in it pictures of the field meet, which I found to be just absolutely amazing. And so we'll post that on Facebook. So if anybody wants to see the actual pictures, we'll put them on it. But there it is, Flying Eagles in a Cloud of Dust.
Wow.
Field meet right there.
Michael, the one Woody's sharing now, that was at Jack's. That's not Corey's. We had 2 different.
Oh, right. Yes, 2 of them. Right.
2 different locations. The one that Corey, that Mr. Johnson is talking about, that had a hill climb, but it had like the greasy plank, the slow ride.
Yeah.
And my grandfather taught my aunts, you would ride the motorcycle and they would have a hot dog hanging
up the woman on the back. Yeah, the woman on the back.
Yeah, the weenie bite.
Yeah, the weenie bite. Yeah, that was fun.
Yes, my grandfather taught my aunt, and then it came down to us.
Yeah,
They knew how to do that.
that was fun.
Ride the motorcycle, and the mustard would be dripping down, but the person that bit the hot dog would be the winner.
My sister,
Yeah,
Yeah. Our sister, my aunt, their sister was real
Yeah.
good at it. And then the wife fell off and broke her arm. But go ahead, don't forget.
but John can tell you about riding the wife. They were going somewhere, and I told John, I said, my wife, I wasn't married to her then. I said, she goes to sleep. John said, don't you know what to do with her? I said, no, I don't know what to do with her. And I wore cowboy boots. So John and his wife said, take her to a boys store and buy a pair of boys cowboy boots. I went there and bought them cowboy boots for big fit and everything. I said, now John, she got a cowboy, they fit her boots on. I said, they fit her nice. I said, how's they gonna keep her from going to sleep on back in motorcycle? He said, now here comes the lesson. He said, now when you get on there, he's gonna say, you stand up. No, he said, you take the cowboy boots to the shoemaker and get tacks put on the toes. I don't what he said, shut up and go and do what I tell you. I said the boots in and put taps on the toes. Now, I don't want them taps on up on the toes. So John got back, she walked around to the tap. John said, well, we're going to Jersey. I didn't. John said, now you stand up. And she said, you make up with both hands in your pocket. I looked at John, I said, how in the world that? John said, you hard hit somebody. You're not calling no name like it. He said, well, you are. I said, what is it? He said, make her put her hands down in your pocket, and then you sit back down on the motorcycle. Now, you're going to say, if you hear something, don't fell off the peg, and every time they hit the ground, they will make a noise and sparkle.
Oh, God.
That's good times right there. Well, I really appreciate, I don't want to keep you guys too late. You know, I know it's 9 o'clock almost your time. There is so much more to talk about. Marlene, do you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, no, I'm good, Ken. I'm good.
Okay. Well, if anybody's got any closing thoughts, or if there are things that you feel like we missed or we need to, you know, touch on, please just jump in. Corey, you got anything?
Some of my earliest memories are the Flying Eagles in Daytona in the early 70s when I was a young guy. Mr. Buster, Marlene's grandfather, and Uncle Jimmer and Mr. Buster, their father, they were my favorites. Mr. Frog, Mr. Buster. And I got pictures of me as a little guy, probably 3 or 4, in Daytona, climbing on the motorcycles, at the beach with the bikes out on the beach. Those are just the days I remember, and that sold me on the Flying Eagles. I'm 50. The Flying Eagles been a part of my life as long as I can remember. And me and Marlene and the rest of the Flying Eagles are gonna keep this club around as long as it can be, so that our kids, next generation, can do the same thing, pass the memories on and be positive in the community.
That's awesome.
Amen to that.
We're going to see anybody in Biketoberfest this year? No, nobody's headed.
Probably not.
No, we're a little reluctant.
Yep, I hear you.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody also for your incredible hospitality, the club, and welcoming me into your group, because I had a fantastic trip and it was a great shoot. And I hope all my shoots are so much fun.
We appreciate you coming out, Michael. The pictures are amazing.
Yes.
All right. So until next time, this is the 4Ever2Wheels podcast, episode 150 with the Flying Eagles Motorcycle Club. You can check them out on Facebook as well, Flying Eagles MC, all separate words. Please comment, share, like, let us know how we're doing. And thanks a lot. We'll see y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 All right.
Go to bed, Gemma.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a good time.
Right.
Yep.